Kombat Kat, The Rise of the F.E.L.I.X Unit by Sam Wilson. Chapter 1. The Fall of Light. The air still stank of the old world. Even years after the collapse, after the plague tore through civilization and left cities to rot, there was a weight to the wind that no breeze could carry away. Sentinel Point stood on the skeletal edge of a broken continent, the walls rising like rusted ribs against a diseased sky. They weren't made for comfort. Nothing was anymore. The plague had started with a cough, then a tremor in the nerves. Victims screamed as their bones twisted under their own skin, muscles spasming until ligaments snapped. It was a biotechnological horror, the product of human ambition turned monstrous. Nexcorp, the behemoth biotech company contracted by governments to control overpopulation and exert new social order, had created it. But the virus mutated faster than they could contain it. What was meant to be precise became feral. Half the population died screaming. A small percentage mutated into feral monsters, flesh-eating, blood-drunk, and mindless. They were called facers, for their disturbing tendency to attack the face first, as if trying to erase identity itself. Cities fell. Militaries burned entire regions to slow the spread. Society fractured. Food supply chains failed. Electric grids collapsed. Governments withered to memory. And in that vacuum, Nexcorp became a god. They built new compounds, started new experiments. They had failed to save humanity, so they would try to enslave it instead. Sentinel Point wasn't built by Nexcorp. It was built by survivors. Inside, life clung stubbornly to the wreckage. Crops sprouted in soil painstakingly revived from poisoned dirt. Solar panels glinted from rooftops where satellite dishes used to be. Old world tech was scavenged and retooled into vital systems. Water filtration, short-range comms, basic surveillance. But everything was patched together. Everything felt borrowed, temporary. And yet something new had emerged from the ashes. The F.E.L.I.X unit. In the wake of ruin, Nexcorp unveiled a miracle. New soldiers, engineered to resist the plague. Faster, stronger, obedient, feline. Ever fond of acronyms due to Nexcorp's paramilitary structure, they called them the F.E.L.I.X unit. Feline, enhanced, lethal, infiltration, experiment. Programmed for loyalty, designed for war, deployed for control. And yet, something went wrong. Or maybe right. Whoever writes the history books will ultimately decide that, as so often happens. Bioengineered feline soldiers, standing upright, talking, thinking, killing. Originally bred by Nexcorp to be perfect foot soldiers, their first 4 prototypes, K2, Sphinx, Bingle, and Mannix, had broken free. Something in them had worked too well. They'd become more than obedient weapons. They'd become leaders. Feline DNA had reacted differently to the plague sequence. Instead of breaking down, it refined itself. Fused with human-designed enhancements, it created something superior. The first 4 were intelligent, physically dominant, and loyal to something greater than orders: justice. But all subsequent attempts failed. Each new subject born after the first 4 degenerated rapidly, dying within weeks or losing cognitive function entirely. K2 had been the first, bred to be the ultimate tool in combat, with intelligence, senses, and abilities superior to humans at every turn. That is where his name K2 came from, Kombat Kat. And now, he stood on the ramparts of Sentinel Point, staring out across a horizon that never seemed to change. "We've got movement," Sphinx said from behind him, voice cool, sharp as her namesake. He turned. Her helmet was tucked under one arm, ears twitching slightly. Even relaxed, she looked coiled, ready. Where? Raventon Ruins. Scavenger convoy, from the looks of it. Maybe 2 clicks out. K2 narrowed his eyes. His enhanced vision zoomed in, focusing through the heat shimmer. Too organized for regular scavengers, and not enough muscle for Nexcorp. Could be black market, Bengal grunted as he arrived, the floor panels creaking under his heavier frame. Traders have been risking longer runs lately. Or bait, Mannix added, appearing at K2's flank without a sound. Silence settled. In the post-collapse world, bait meant death. K2's paw rested on the hilt of his Tech-Line hollow-handle survival knife. It had been with him from the beginning, versatile, unyielding. A compass in the pommel helped him navigate ruined landscapes when satellites failed. That knife had gutted mutants, cut power lines, and dug graves. Send a drone, K2 said. If they're clean, we'll let them through. If they're not... He didn't need to finish. They all knew. The sky overhead was bruised gray, and the sun was a dirty smear on the edge of the horizon. But here, in Sentinel Point, there was order. There was survival. And there was the F.E.L.I.X unit. K2's eyes scanned the wastes again. The war hadn't ended. It had just gone quiet. And silence, he knew, was always temporary. As he stared out at the approaching figures on the horizon, K2 blinked against the ash-flecked sky. His mind briefly drifted to one of his earliest memories while on a mission, from the time when he began to awaken, and the others joined him soon after. Back to a bombed-out city, doing the bidding of Nexcorp, before he knew what his existence really meant, what it could mean. His ears twitched beneath the matte black helmet, tuned to the static groan of wind across broken glass. He crouched atop the rusted beam 6 stories above the cratered city block, his tail wrapped tight around his leg, waiting. Below, smoke curled from the remains of what used to be a resistance safe house. Charred bodies littered the rubble. Some human, some not. His orders were clear. Hunt, isolate, eliminate. But the programming no longer held. K2 had awoken. The others came online in waves. Bengal, the unit's muscle, orange-striped and stone-faced. Sphinx, the tactician, sleek, analytical, silent as breath. And Mannix, the scout, short-tailed, sharp-eyed, and quick as thought. Together, they had formed something Nexcorp hadn't intended. A choice, a conscience, a rebellion. Now, they moved through the wreckage of the old world, carving out space for those who remained, helping to gather survivors and make them fighters. Fighters not just against Nexcorp, but against the ghosts of what they had been built to be. Or, in the case of the humans, against certain extinction or subjugation to Nexcorp. Hard to decide which would be worse. And K2, once the tip of the corporate spear, had become its greatest threat. The wind shifted, bringing him back to the moment. K2 stood, rifle slung, eyes glowing faint green in the gloom. Now, instead of rebels, they hunted for hope.